So we're here today in London, and today I'm very happy because I'm here with Rob Wall and Bernadette Ocampo-Wall. Again, thank you so much for coming. Rob, just had his EB1A petition approved.
Oh, thanks so much for inviting us, Lucas. It's been
thank you.
quite a journey, hasn't it? So it's good to come here just before the end and have a conversation.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in our line of business, because we have customers all over the world, it's extremely rare for us to meet a customer in person. So seeing you guys 3D, that's really, really nice.
Yeah.
Oh, likewise. Seeing you in 3D.
Yeah. So Rob, as I was, because I flew here today, and as I was coming here, I was kind of, going through, your file in my head. It was a little hard to pinpoint, one box or one label for you, because you've been, you have multidisciplinary skills, So yeah, I kind of, wanted to hear a little bit, about, your journey and how you started.
I like to call myself a bit of a hybrid, don't I? Because I'm not petrol, not diesel, not electric, kind of bit of everything. And I think that's always been my journey. So I started out as a drummer. I was a musician for many years at a church in central London called HTB. That's where we met and where we got married. And as I was, drumming every Sunday, I felt a call to pastoral ministry and started the process of becoming a Church of England vicar and was ordained at St. Paul's Cathedral. And as I was doing that, I started to realize that I wasn't just meant to preach a sermon on a Sunday. I had this other set of skills in business and entrepreneurship. And so I'd listen to a sermon on a Sunday, but then I'd be listening to podcasts on business Monday through Friday. And so I was trying to figure out, there's not really a template for somebody that's a pastor and in business. So I've kind of had to pioneer and learn as I go. But to cut a long story short, I left the Church of England to pursue kind of an itinerant model of ministry. And alongside that, I've had business clients the last 5 to 7 years where I've coached, I've been ghostwriting, I've been consulting. It's been a lot, but definitely a hybrid. But now I feel this lane of faith-based entrepreneurship is quite category shifting, actually. It's quite unique. It's not been done before. And yeah, I'm really excited about helping others who are perhaps a little bit confused about their skill set and how it fits with business and ministry. I can hopefully be an example to them and lead the way.
Well, that's great. And again, talking a little bit about the business side, because I would say a Christian entrepreneurship is, pretty much a solid thing in the US.
Yeah.
But it's, I would say, very, very new, very incipient here in Europe.
Yeah, there's a lot of misunderstanding, I think. And I think whenever something's abused, like the prosperity gospel, people kind of attach their own definitions to it. But for me, I was fortunate enough to come under a guy called Ken Costa, who former chairman of UBS Bank and Lazard's International. And so he really gave me a foundation in kind of secular business. And so I had a really strong foundation. It was eye-opening, but to see that you can be a Christian and still make a difference in, the workplace and not just be a kind of fringe marketplace Christian who's just working with Christians, because not that there's anything wrong with that, but I really wanted to impact, culture as well as the church.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
And, just out of curiosity, how did you guys meet?
So we were in church at HTB at the time, and I was serving behind the cafe area at a women's conference, and he was there.
What was he doing at a women's conference?
So Rob used to be a drummer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was part of the worship team, and obviously there was a break, and one of our friends, Alana, she introduced us. There was a time when we'd always try to arrange to meet, because I'd bump into him really randomly at odd places, it'd be on the train, it'd be on the road. Didn't think much about it. I was like, no, Lord, can't be the one. Just because I thought, he's very friendly, he's a musician, I'm a city girl, boots, that sort of, there's just this
It's not going to work.
Yeah, it's not going to work. How's that going to happen? And I just thought, actually, he's a really nice chap. But we did arrange a date. Well, not a date, but a meeting, a catch-up is what they call it here in London.
Okay, catch up. Okay.
And I double booked.
He double booked. He forgot that he was meeting me, so I was stood up.
Good start.
It's a good start, but it's a good story to add into there because obviously we tried again, we met up, we caught up, and then it was from then on we caught up more, and then we decided we were going to do Alpha together. We led together.
Yeah.
So I guess on the 7th week we got together.
So we dated 2 years, then got engaged, and we were
Well, less than
married.
2 years.
Yeah. How many?
It was 1 year and 4 months or something like.
1 year, 4 months, and then
And then-
how long after getting engaged did we get married? How many weeks? was
Less
it?
than 3 months.
Yeah. So it's a.
So it's like a very fast.
And that kind of connects, something I wanted to discuss as well. Like for those who know, like the EB1 visa, that Rob and Bernadette just, were approved. It's a very, very restrictive, highly restrictive visa that are only for the people that are in the very, very top of their field. But, you both are very young and you especially, we're going to discuss a little bit more about your accomplishments, and your achievements. But, and I kind of wanted to start, with the award that you got.
Yes.
And that's, this is a funny story because I use your example for all our customers. Because when I first received your resume, and we're discussing, which visa, you should go for the EB2NIW or another one. When I first saw your resume, I saw, you've got leading roles in very distinguished organizations. That's great. But then it wasn't until maybe, a few weeks after they were like, oh, you know what? I did receive an award, a long time ago. And I was like, okay, let's see, what kind of award, because that's the other thing, for this type of visa, it's not any award that counts. It has to be nationally or internationally recognized awards.
Yeah.
And there's a series of criteria, that you have to meet just for, for that award. So when you told me, about the award, I researched. And I was like, man, that's just a big thing, so for those who know, Rob got, the City of London award. And you might be thinking, oh, that's just, for, people that live in London. But no, we're talking about Nelson Mandela, Margaret Thatcher, J.K. Rowling, people like that got this type of award. It's not an award that you can apply for, So yeah, I kind of just want to discuss a little bit about that award, how you were approached and how did that happen?
Firstly, I'm indebted to who my boss was at that time, a guy called Jeremy, who brought me on to work with him in the city. I worked opposite the Bank of England, and after working with Jeremy for 4 years, we were approached by the Guildhall, the City of London, and they said, to recognise your achievements in serving the Square Mile, we'd love you to have the Freedom of the City Award. Now, I'm 38 now, but I was in my mid to late 20s and thinking, I've no idea what this is. It seems quite an ancient award. But as I did some digging, you're right, I didn't realise, J.K. Rowling received it a year before me, Nelson Mandela, and it was a real privilege to get it, but I moved house so many times since receiving it. It was in the back of my wardrobe, and it was only when I was clearing out the spare room I thought, this might be something. And then I sent you an email with a screenshot, didn't I, saying, could this help?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you were like, this is the golden ticket.
It is. I mean, it is. And I tell that, that story to all my clients.
Yeah.
And the reason I tell that is because a lot of clients, they have a hidden gem,
Yes.
that, it's not on their resume, and it's not brought up, in our conversations. And usually, when we really, really, really need something, then that's when they bring that up and etc.
Yeah.
But
And I've got the kind of personality where for me it's all about the pursuit of a thing. Then when I achieve it, it's like, what's the next thing? So I'm not really the kind of guy who has all my accolades on the wall, back of a cupboard. That's more like me. But yeah, this is amazing to think, 2013, 14, the very thing I'd need in 2024, 2025 is, the way's been prepared. It was pretty incredible. About it.
And that's, there's so many incredible things about, your trajectory, because, one of the things is that you're very, I would say, I mean, probably one of the youngest people to person to actually receive that kind of award. But, it didn't stop there. You had many, many other accomplishments, like in the the following years. So I kind of want to discuss a little bit of that. Your let's say your leading role at Glorify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we both worked for Glorify, didn't we? I was the first hire. So when the founder, Henry, said, Rob, I've got this idea for a tech app. No one knew about it. It wasn't called Glorify. It was called Quiet Time. When I started, 50 people were reading the content every week, and it grew quite quickly. Within 24 months, we had over 7 million downloads. 4 million of those were in Brazil, actually. And we were translating my content into Portuguese. And it just grew really, really quickly, and investors got on board with it. For me, I think what I am pleased with myself about is saying yes to the opportunity when there were only 50 people, and I had no idea it was really going to explode. I had this guy's word for it. He had passion.
Yeah.
But of course he had passion. He was putting everything on the line for it. So this tech app grew to be the number one faith-based devotional app in the world, and it still is, I believe. Incredible to see it grow. And then you came on board, didn't you? You were doing
I did a bit of copy editing for the Listen app, which is for the recordings but yeah, I did quite a few translations from the Brazilian.
Oh, great.
So obviously there's a translation from the Brazilian into English, so I had to copy edit the English version, which was obviously very, very different to what it would be if it was normally written by somebody who is English. That was a bit of a challenge, but we got there.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that was my devotion.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, at the time, I didn't know what Glorify was.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much like an app for prayer and devotion, right?
Yeah, and the aim is for it to eventually become like the Netflix of Christian content. So lots more video content, devotionals, meditations. They've done a lot of research, and with the funding, they've built a massive team. So it's just growing and growing. So it was amazing to be a part of that. And I learned a lot about how to scale a business, which has helped me with my clients. I'm sure we'll get onto it, but my coaching company, the industry is just full of coaches who have learnt the principles, but don't have any proof themselves of building something. Whereas Glorify and working for Ken really gave me a foundation to say, hey, I've actually experienced this. And so not only does it give you credibility, but it actually gives you the clarity to be able to say, hey, if you want to scale, you need to get all your systems in place, the operating procedures, everything lined up. So if it does grow, you're in a position to sustain it. So
I definitely want to talk about that because I love anything that's business related. What would you recommend for any, let's say, coach or basically any business person who wants to scale without debt?
I'd just say, I think it's a Stephen Covey quote, the guy who writes 7 Habits of Highly Effective People: begin with the end in mind. So at Glorify, when it was just me and Henry, the founder, he asked me to document absolutely everything I did because he had confidence in 6 months someone else would be hired to take my role. So the first thing I'd say is begin with the end in mind. And then secondly, just success loves speed. If you listen to any business podcast now, I'd say whereas most people are still thinking within 2 weeks about whether they should act, successful entrepreneurs have already acted, got some immediate feedback, iterated, and then gone again. So yeah,
that's very interesting because so many businesses they do have the confidence part that it's going to work.
Yeah,
but not many people talk about the pace, to match it,
and the hard work. I mean, I never like discouraging entrepreneurs, but we never really understand how much work's involved in getting something working. Like the founders were working ridiculous hours, which I think you can do for a season, and they did it for a season, and then they needed to slow down. They say leadership is caught, not taught, don't they? I feel like we caught a lot about scaling just by watching someone doing it, and certainly if entrepreneurs and founders knew how much it took to scale, maybe less would attempt it.
Yeah, and especially I would say exponential scale, people like, can scale, like a little by little, but it takes like many, many years, to get, from point A to B.
Yeah.
But, to take, like from A to Z, like in a very short time, again, without, leverage or something, it's very, very difficult.
And that's why in the company we're starting in America, I'm excited about having, rather than entrepreneurs going to 10 different places to get information on how to grow, how to build, how to scale, I've created what I've called the owner's operating system, which is just 5 steps from starting, building, growing, scaling and investing. So you go from earning an income to actually owning assets. And it's like a 5-step journey to just help you go from, I've got a business idea. How do I grow it? How do I build it? How then do I scale it? And then once I've got the capital, how do I then invest it so it gets me like compounding returns? So quite passionate about having everything in one place and all in one system for people, rather than them have to go to YouTube and get a snippet from Grant Cardone or...
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, it's really really nice, and I'm sure like you both will be very, very successful in your endeavors in the US.
Yeah, because Bernadette's starting. Well, you've always got loads of things going on, don't you?
I've got lots of ideas.
Okay, yeah.
Businesses,
yeah, but it's mainly for mums really, who are, because obviously I'm a mum, which is one of the reasons why I did the copy editing with Glorifies, because we just had Joshy, so there was 2 children. I'd spent 2 years already on my own as a mum, and I needed to talk to adults or think adult wise. He was
COVID
out.
happened as well.
Yeah, COVID was at the time, and he would be out after post-COVID. Obviously, he'd be out working or having meetings, etc. So it was something that I thought, oh, if I want to do something of my own, I can do it, but in between the times that the kids are napping or playing at school or what have you, so I can have that moment to do something. And actually, not just me. I'm not the only person who can do this. I'm not the only mum. Other mums can do it as well if they want to. So that's part of the business that I've got. That's kind of mentoring them into helping them and saying, look, you can actually do this. If your dream can come alive.
And that's very interesting, because I discuss that with my wife, very frequently, how moms, they feel guilty no matter what. If they stay at home, they feel guilty for not being working, for not, contributing financially, But then if they, go out and work, they feel guilty for not staying with kids. There's always, sometimes, like a middle ground where, you can kind of do both, which is, as, everything, it's hard. But yeah, I mean, there is actually a huge market for this type of, mentoring, not just in the US, but internationally as well.
And we've both been quite intentional about researching our markets. We've wanted something with a big market cap, and that's helped us kind of get clarity on where we can be seen as or positioned as experts, which has helped with the visa as well. Just having like, language for like why we feel we're the right people to come to for coaching or, inspiration really.
I also want to discuss, like your relationship with John Maxwell, which, many know is a very well-known author in the United States. How did you guys meet?
So we met on Zoom during COVID.
Okay.
So I had a lot of speaking engagements cancelled during COVID, like a lot of speakers did. And so I remember one morning waking up thinking, how do I fill this time? And I thought every single well-known global leaders at home right now with time on their hands. So I just drafted one email template and emailed, I think, 150 of the world's most famous leaders and said, hey, can I have an interview? I was on TBN at the time, a television network here in the UK. One afternoon, my inbox was just filling up with people saying yes. So, John Maxwell said yes, what date, what time? People like Bishop T.D. Jakes, Dr. Caroline Leaf, even Nelson Mandela's former prison guard on Robben Island, Christo Brand, agreed to do an interview with me. With John Maxwell, I really prepared an hour for 5-6 questions. And I thought, I'll do the interview, but at the end, with every single person, I'm going to ask them 1 or 2 questions. And with John, I did the interview. I said to him, I know you're really busy. Could I get 5 minutes with you once a quarter? And he said to me, yeah, I'll give you my number. And the reason I'm doing this is not because what you did was perfect, but because I see the potential. And so that kind of opened the door to monthly calls, really. The first ever mentoring call I had with him, he said, don't call me again until you do what I asked you to do on this call. But the thing he asked me to do was to go out and get my first coaching contract. I'd never coached before. I remember a girl called Lisa. She signed a 2-year coaching program, and it was a big one. And then I sent it to John's PA and said, here, within 24 hours, and got the next call. So it's a balance of, support, but also he has expectations that you implement what he gives, because everyone's asking for advice, from CEOs of Coca-Cola to, oil companies. So I was his youngest mentee, and I learned a lot from him. Yeah.
And you mentioned briefly about TBN, which is also like a very incredible accomplishment for you to have. You basically both had your own show at TBN, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a relationship show. It was called Holding On to Hope.
Yeah, and I don't know why they originally reached out to us. I just finished at HTB, but we'd been asked to do a couple of things. When Gracie was born, we had quite the story. We didn't think we could have children. And then Gracie arrived 6 years ago, and TBN wanted to do a feature piece on it. So we brought Gracie out after how many weeks was she alive?
She was only like 2 months.
She was 2 months, and we brought her out to the audience, and that was special. And then they offered us a couple of series with the network.
I kind of want to stay a little bit here, like in this subject, because it's something that probably many people are going through. Let's say they're trying to have children and etc. How was that time for you guys when you realize, hey, this might not happen, and then like a miracle comes? How was that for you guys?
Oh, it was really tough, wasn't it? I mean, it would be tough for anyone. We tried to have children, obviously, and then we had our first miscarriage, like within 6 weeks. And I didn't know how to navigate that, because we did have a network at the time. We had the HTB group. They were fantastic. Nicky Gumbold, who was the vicar at the church, he offered help, etc. But we went to a doctor after our second or third?
Third miscarriage, yeah.
And she basically said to us, you can never have children. We looked into
adoption.
Because we thought, actually, obviously I feel called to be a mum. I felt called to be a mum. And yeah, we looked into adoption, but it just didn't feel quite right, the right time. I mean, we talk about adopting still anyway, but we wanted to go through other avenues. Yeah. So we went through the avenue of IVF, and that's where we got the
successful straight away.
And for us, we stayed in his presence, and that I think that's, for me, that's how it kind of kept my faith, kept believing that it was going to happen. I'm not saying that it's going to be the same for everybody. The journey is going to be the same.
I think everyone loves hearing stories of hope, but it's in the drudgery of the day-to-day where you're not sure if it's actually gonna work out. How do you stay motivated? And that might be looking for kids, it might be waiting for a new job, might be in your visa process thinking, gosh, still got 6-9 months ahead. Just that every day finding the purpose in today, and what can you do today to help you in the process, because you rarely see the final destination when you're in the drudgery of everyday life. But now we've got this incredible testimony of Gracie and Joshua. When things are challenging, we just look at them and think, well, if that can happen, it kind of raises your expectation. Nothing's really down and out, is it?
No. I mean, it's usually, surely, if God blessed us with these two, this, we've got to believe that this is going to change, this is going to happen. Yeah. So we just, we look at them and like, okay, it will happen.
And there have been moments where, like, we should probably say, before we started dating, you always wanted to move to America.
Yes.
You went to New York, didn't you, for 3 months beforehand
Yes,
and looked for
I did.
work. And I said to Bernadette when we started dating, oh, just so you should know, I think one day I'm going to go to America. And everyone always said, you're meant to be in America, the way you speak, everything, just that's where you're meant to be. And we never thought it would be a decade until it was the right opportunity. But then I think the one opportunity we've got to go on this EB1 visa, as you said, like less than 1 in 10,000 people tend to get this visa. And so it was worth the decade wait to get this.
Yeah, and talking about that, like when was, like, because, you said like you always wanted to live in America, but, 10 years later, when was the moment it was like, you said, okay, now it's the time, let's do it?
To give a bit of background, we had 2 or 3 job opportunities in America that fell through because of COVID, because the leader unexpectedly had a moral misdemeanor and moved on. And we thought, I don't think we're going to get to America by working for somebody else. And we both had this big excitement about building our own businesses. But there was this massive gap before we met you guys. There's this massive gap. How on earth can we get there without working for somebody else? Because someone else is going to have to understand we're running our own business and eventually we want to leave what they're doing to build our dream. And so we sat on the sofa one day, not a lot moving here in London in terms of changing our situation. And we just said, we need to get a attorney and we need to see how we can get to America.
And and talking a little about the process, we prepared your petition, everything looked great, and then we submitted, and then you paid the premium fee. So for those who don't know, the EB1 category, you pay a premium fee, and your process is adjudicated within 15 business days. So meaning either they approve it straight away, or they request additional evidence in order for them to make like an informed decision. So what happened is, you actually received, what we call an RFE, or a request for additional evidence.
Yeah.
And, be totally transparent. How did you feel like when that first came? Because, we are, we see that, like on a day-to-day basis, but, for people, on the other side of the table who actually, have never seen anything like that before. Was it scary? Like, how did you guys feel about that?
Well, it was nerve-wracking.
Yeah, because in a process like this, you guys are incredible at giving us what you need at this point. You need clarity to know what the journey is going to be like. You're very clear on the steps, duration of time. So we had clarity, we had the support. You did say there's a chance they'll want additional evidence. But I think when you're so invested in the outcome, when we saw that petition, because I was refreshing it like 3 times a day, I'm like, 15 business days, come on.
Oh, yeah.
And I had so much vested in it. I remember just seeing that and panicking a little bit, messaged you guys straight away, and the team just reassured us saying, it's okay, we're going to go through everything for you. There is no friction points for us. You told us what they need additional information about. And then we got to work on filling in the gaps.
Yeah, and we always discuss your case internally as well, because there's a difference when the person's actually invested in the process and really wants to make it happen, and no matter what, almost like to make that like a full-time job, because
Yes.
it pretty much is. And at the end, like it was a very, very robust process. But you mentioned something that we discussed that internally as well, the anxiety, which I would say is the number one issue for all customers, no matter what process.
Yeah.
And especially for those who actually paid the premium fee, because for EB1 it's 15 business days, for EB2 it's up to 45 business days, and people are very, very anxious. Like, how do you guys like manage the process of kind of controlling anxiety and thinking, okay, like this is what I can control, this is what I can't, and just leave it in God's hands?
Knowing you can't control the outcome, you can only control the like variables that you submit. That gives an element of peace. But even we got our interview in 2 days, and we, even until I text you last night on WhatsApp, and you really reassured me because we're nervous about, you know, what they're going to ask us. I've got a 1,100 page document you sent me, and I'm looking through it and thinking, what are they going to ask? So I think for me, it's knowing I've done all the preparation I can do to, you know, make it as smooth as possible. And then there's the element you've got to like surrender it, because I can't control who interviews me. I can't control any of that stuff. So that's how I deal with it. But how about you?
Yeah, no, I agree. You can't go beyond trying to control a situation that you can't control. From the moment you guys told us what to expect, I just left it at that. You know, you can't worry about something, because the more you worry, the more you get nervous, or the more you get concerned about something, it eats at you, doesn't it? It doesn't feel good. So you just got to let it go.
Yeah.
And trust the process. They always say just trust the process.
And something John Maxwell once said to me was, the questions you ask determine the answers you get. And what he meant by that is, you know, don't be afraid of asking a question you think sounds silly or obvious. I asked you last night, is this more of a formality? Is this going to be a rigorous interview? And I felt like I should know the answer to that. But just asking it of you, I got an answer that really reassured us. But if I hadn't have asked that, I'd still be feeling quite anxious about the interview. I'd say anyone going through the process, utilize the support and the service, because you guys want to help us. You want to give us clarity and peace. I've found it's a lot more relational. It has been more relational than transactional.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And that's, you know, like what we've been like very intentional about that, because there are a lot of people, you know, that they are, I would say, eligible for the visa, but eligibility is different than likelihood of approval, you know. And for us, we only see the likelihood of approval. That's what matters, you know. At the end of the day, what we want to see is an approval.
Yeah.
You know, because as you've been seeing right now, you know, this is a life-changing process. You know, it's not just, you know, like buying a car. You know, like your entire family, you know, is being, you know, moved, you know, displaced, you know, like another country, another culture. It can't be transactional, you know.
Yeah, we've not found that at all, have we, in this journey with you guys? Just very relational. The support's been great. Every member of the team's just gone out their way to, you know, help us practically and, you know, with the logistics of it. But I feel like the relational support, I don't know how someone would run a company like this without having that skill set, because as you said, there's just so much anxiety and uncertainty attached to it. Even when you said we had a strong case and you gave us a percentage, I can't remember the exact amount, but it was a high percentage we'd, you know, be approved. But we're still, you know, nervous. And I think even now, we said yes last night, until we get the yes stamp, it's not yes. So, it's really important to have the support you guys offer, for sure.
And then, you know, like a few days after, you know, we sent the, you know, the response to what they've been asking for. You know, we've got an email. It was approved.
Yeah, I remember messaging you saying, this looks positive or something like that.
No, I remember exactly your words. I remember exactly. It was like, this looks promising. Like 3 dots.
I remember getting the email in my office, reading it, and just going to ChatGPT straight away, putting it in and saying, can you just put this in plain English for me? Because obviously there was lots of big words, but I think it's been approved. And then in my office, I was, you know, thank you, Lord. And then I, you know, calmly go over to the sofa where B's sitting.
And he wasn't going to tell me.
And I was thinking, I might not tell her for a few days until I've spoken to Lucas and the team. I couldn't keep it in. I went, we've been approved.
And I was like, really? 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 It was like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe, you know, it's such, you know, because part of the anxiety comes from the uncertainty, you know. They, you know, they can decide, you know, whatever they want. You know, you can always fight an appeal, but, you know, it's still, you know, like it just drags the process and etc. But, you know, receiving an approval, like, it's kind of like that. There's a saying in Brazil is like, like I only believe when I see it, and when I see, I can't believe it.
It felt like that totally.
Yeah.
And then it's trying to communicate to those closest to you how big it actually is that you've been given this, because they don't know the E from the K to the J visa, but just saying, less than 1 in 10,000 tend to get this.
In terms of, visas that really require skills, because, you have like investors visa where you just have to have the money and etc. But when it's like skill-based, employment-based visas, like the EB1 is the top, you have, you can't just be an average, person doing, your work. And, even if you're like a manager or director, still, it's not enough. Like you have to have much more, which in your case, you had, a very, prestigious award, several leadership roles, in organizations, TBN, which is, is like internationally recognized, Glorify. You really made an impact, like you both in
Wow, that's amazing.
Everybody that worked in your case.
That's incredible to hear that. And I think that sums up the whole process. Like when you're in something, you don't really understand how later on that's going to have a big impact. From the award I was given to Glorify content. It's quite amazing, really.
I mean, for you guys, I from my experience, I think you guys have been really super efficient.
100%.
Because you laid everything out for us that we needed to do. We had the documents that we could just put everything in. It was super easy. It wasn't, and it was great. Obviously, just working with you guys and your team. So I just wanted to say that your team were very good.
Excellent, yeah,
great. It means a lot, because as like it's a very complex, process, and making it simple,
that's the genius.
It's the key. And
yeah.
For us to like wrap up, the conversation, 2 things. So what's next in your journey, and what you plan, like as soon, and you talked a little briefly, both of you, about the business ideas that you have, to implement, but kind of just want to hear a little bit more about that once you like set foot in the US. And
it's the work started now, really. So companies set up already, and the main thing is to hit the ground running with. I've already got clients in America I'm working with now, but really it's to, as we talked about, set up all the operating systems and really have the business within 12 months scaling beyond me, really. And then whilst that's running, we can focus on, we'd like to start a ministry of sorts. We're able to do that, maybe a church that blends ministry with marketplace. I'd love to have a church that entrepreneurs feel like this is specifically for business leaders. It doesn't really exist in the world, doesn't exist in Charlotte. So I think we'd be going to like disrupt's probably too strong a word, but certainly create something that no one's seen before. So get there and then build a life, right? With the kids, schools, and
I mean, my first thing would be to set up home, really. It probably pause my stuff for a bit, and then get the kids settled, get them to school, have a routine again. So that will be my focus.
Great. How are they thinking? How are they saying anything about the trip?
Gosh, they can't wait, can they?
And with Gracie, since she's been about 2 or 3, we've been saying, we're going to move to America. And so for her, it's finally, I don't think she realizes in 2-3 weeks.
The dream is coming true.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
that's great.
Very excited.
So they've been very good. Some parents don't tell their kids for, I don't know, until maybe the week before, or even the day before they travel. They've known from the beginning. They've been journeying with us. So,
and even yesterday, Gracie, our 6-year-old, said, "Look, we've got to get through the interview on Thursday. Don't think about America or the flights yet. We've got the interview. Focus on that." I'm like, "Where's this wisdom come from in my 6-year-old? Where did this come from?" So she's got us focused.
That's it.
No, that's great. Again, thank you so much. It was really a pleasure talking to you guys, and everything will be good.
Thanks so much, Lucas.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.